Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There was once a dervish sitting along the bank of a river, and a young man walking along the bank of the river said to him, "I want to be your disciple. Will you take me on as your disciple?" And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I want to know God." Immediately when the young man said that, the dervish grabbed him by the throat, threw him in the water, and held him underwater. And the man is screaming and screaming, and he keeps dunking him and dunking him, and he's screaming. Finally, he lets him out. And he said, the dervish said to the young man, "When I was holding you underwater, what is it that you wanted most?" And he said, "Air." He said, "Well, go home. And when you want God as much as you wanted air, come back, and maybe I'll take you on then." So, who are the believers and how much do they believe? And what is the understanding that believers have? Well, we live in form and we exist in form. And for many people, religion is form. So when they talk about the prophets, for instance, they talk about the prophets' history. Everybody can tell you stories about Jesus, and they can tell you stories about Moses, and they can tell you stories about Muhammad. Everybody seems to know the history of the prophets. But who are the prophets? Are they historical figures, or are they more than that? And in fact, what is history? And what is it that we believe? Is our religion based on stories? Is our religion based on histories? Is our religion based on what's written about what happened during the prophets' lifetimes? Is that our religion? Is our religion based on ritual? What makes us a believer? And how many different kinds of believers are there? Well, let's talk about Jesus for a second. There are all these stories about Jesus, and there's this whole history about Jesus that people reiterate. But in truth, Jesus is a light. Jesus is the soul within every being. Moses is the wisdom within every being. And Muhammad exists as the treasury of God within man. All of the prophets exist as a purveyor of wisdom into this world. They all came to bring an understanding of reality. And what is reality? We have to ask ourselves this question. Well, reality is that which is beyond time and place. Reality is that which doesn't appear and disappear. Reality has eternity in it. And Jesus has eternity within him. Moses has eternity within him. Muhammad has eternity within him. They didn't just come as a historical being. They came as lights into this world, and returned to the light. We need to understand that. What comes from Allah is a grace and a power and a light, and finally a sound that resonates in this world. And when the sound resonates, it becomes words. And these words are conveyed from holy beings to the rest of humanity. For what reason? To bring the rest of humanity to that state of holiness. And so people in Islam are called Muslims. And what does Muslim mean? It means believer. But what does believer mean? Well, whatever your mind conjures is your belief system. Whatever your desire conjures is your belief system. It's only when you can go beyond mind and beyond desire that a true belief system can occur. It's only when wisdom enters into your being that truth can enter into your being, and that you can understand reality as opposed to just the images from your mind and from your desire. We see things as images because that's what the mind does. It creates images, and this is the world that we see. But there is a world beyond the mind. There is a world beyond desire. There is a world beyond what the eyes can see and the ears can hear and the nose can smell and the senses can feel. There is a world beyond that. There is a kingdom beyond that. There is an understanding beyond that. But we fill ourselves with historical images and we give credence to these. Those who believe in Jesus, do they know that Jesus had no house? That Jesus had no possessions? That everything that came into his hand was distributed to others? That his only belief was in God alone? Well, do the people who believe in Jesus have houses? Do they have possessions? Do they distribute everything that they have? You see, to come to that state is a very, very difficult thing to do. Yet people call themselves believers. They believe in the historical Jesus. They believe in the historical Moses. They believe in the historical Muhammad. But in truth, there is a higher level to all of these, a level that is without form, a level that is without history. Bawa was often asked to tell people about his story, to tell people about what went on during his life. And he said, "My story is of no importance. There is no history for me. The only history is God's history. The only story is God's story." And that understanding of truth is beyond the understanding of the mind and beyond the understanding of desire, beyond the understanding of form, and beyond the worshiping of form. We are a form. And for most people, this form worships other form. What goes on in most people's prayers? They envision what they want or they think they need, and that becomes their prayer. So one form is praying for another form. People are looking to fulfill desires, and fulfillment of those desires becomes their prayer. Fulfillment of those desires becomes how they pay obeisance to their Lord. But in truth, what happens when we truly pray? Where do we go when we truly pray? True prayer happens when we go beyond mind, go beyond desire, and enter into Allah's eternal qualities. When we enter into that state that those qualities represent, and those qualities have no time, they have no form, they have no place in this world. They are in the kingdom of God. It's where we go beyond intellect into wisdom. As long as all, in truth, all the prophets are different pages from the same book. All the prophets came and taught the same thing. There were different levels of what they taught, but they were essentially trying to bring us to the place where we could discard the darkness that is within us. In our heart, there is a mirror. And if we truly come to know ourselves, we can see this mirror. And this mirror projects light. And this light is the power of our Creator. But this mirror also will show us all of the animals that are within us and all of the things that we have to discard to become pure, until we get that understanding that within form there is not truth. Form is beyond truth. Formlessness is beyond, is reality, and form is the illusion that is this world. And even men who have been on this path for years and years and years don't understand the lesson of form and formlessness. There was a monk who went out to gather his daily food, and he went begging. And he ended up at a home that was incredibly poor. They had almost nothing, but they wanted to give him something. So they took a little rice, put it in water, and boiled it until it boiled down and there was a rice paste. And they gave it to him to eat in their finest plate. And he ate it. And he was moved by their generosity and by their willingness to try and help him. And he was moved so much that he wanted to do something on their behalf. So after he left them, he went into the forest and began to gather wood so that he could give them some firewood, because he didn't have any possessions. On the way to their home to bring them the firewood, he ran across his teacher, and his teacher asked him what he was doing. And he said to his teacher, the story of how they had been so kind to him even though they had nothing, and he wanted to return something to them, so he was bringing them this firewood. The teacher immediately took his walking stick and began to beat him mercilessly on the legs, beat him and beat him and beat him. And finally, the monk said, "What are you doing?" He said, "For years, I've been teaching you, and you've been learning about the formless. And what are you doing now? You're bringing firewood. How long is this firewood going to last for them? You need to give them the understanding of the formless. You need to pray from the formless for them. This is why you're here, not to continue the fantasy, the ignorance of form." So even the monk forgot that he understood formlessness, yet he got caught in the trap of form. We all get caught in the trap of form. We all get caught in what is most readily available to our senses. We need to understand that there is a kingdom beyond our senses. There is an understanding beyond our senses. And this is wisdom. Bawa said to us, the prophet didn't say, just stand still and pray. He said, go unto China to find wisdom. And this is at the crux of becoming a true believer. We have to begin to find wisdom. We have to understand wisdom. We can stay within the realm of the intellect and the realm of form, and we can try and accomplish what it is that we're trying to accomplish in this world within form. But in truth, without stepping into wisdom, without stepping into formlessness, we will never understand truth. We will be constricted by time and space. We will be constricted by everything that we see. We will be trapped by illusion because we treat illusion as if it were reality. We have to be able to step beyond illusion and find truth. And where is truth to be found? Well, it's not to be found in the images of the mind. It's not to be found in desire. It's not to be found in everything that we interact with in this world in our daily lives. It's somewhere else. It's what the prophets came to teach us. It's what the prophets came to show us, and it's what the prophets brought. But we even look at the prophets as if they were from form, as opposed to understanding that they came from light into this world as examples of God's truth. Allah continues to send examples of his truth into this world. He continues to send us ways for us to find reality. Now, we can go on living a life within the rules of the Shariat and within the rules of what's permitted and what's not permitted. And we can do all of that which is permitted, and we can follow all of the rituals. And this makes us a believer to a degree. But to go beyond ritual, to go beyond form, to go beyond that which is available to our senses, is to enter into wisdom and to enter into the state of being an insan kamil, one who truly understands reality. And reality is beyond form. Form is a state of ignorance. Form is a state where there is a story to tell. But there comes a time when this story that we tell about ourselves becomes meaningless and we disappear. History is for that which appears and disappears. Truth is for that which is beyond those states. Truth is that which is eternal. And we have to begin to look for that which is eternal in our lives. And if we look closely and examine closely, we will see that that which is eternal has no form. Love is eternal. Compassion is eternal. Mercy is eternal. Justice is eternal. The qualities of Allah are eternal. And for us to enter into the eternal kingdom of God, we have to give up the mind, the desire, and form, and enter into those qualities which are eternal. It is at that state that we become truth and we become that which is real. Otherwise, we remain in illusion. And no matter what we call ourselves, no matter what name we give ourselves, we're still in illusion. We can call ourselves Jews, or we can call ourselves Christians, we can call ourselves Muslims, we can call ourselves Hindus, we can call ourselves all of these different things. But these all have to do with form. God is beyond religion. God is beyond differences. God is beyond race or nationality. God is beyond color. God is beyond all of these things. And when we begin to understand that God is beyond all of these things, then we will begin to understand that there is a unity in all of creation. And God created this unity in all of creation. And all men are part of this one unity. All men were created from one mother and father that God sent into this earth. All men came from Adam and Eve. All men came from the same mother and father. But somehow, the arrogance of I and you, the differences of mine and yours, have separated all of mankind. So now man proclaims superiority over other man. Man claims superiority of religion over other men. Men claims superiority of knowledge or superiority of power. Man claims differences. And in setting up all of these differences, man enriches his own ego, makes more of his own self, makes more of who he is as opposed to everyone else. But there comes a time when this unity will be known to man. At the time of judgment, the unity of creation and the unity of all men will become evident to every man. And every man will have to confess to that which he was involved with, which was opposed to unity. Will have to confess to all that they were involved with, which were clinging to separations and clinging to differences and holding on to those things as if that was their identity. These are all false identities. These are all false claims. Our only identity in truth is that we are children who were created by our Lord. And there is a unity amongst all of us. There is an equality amongst all of us. And there is a sameness amongst all of us. Whatever color we are, whatever religion we were born in, whatever nationality we come from, there is still this sameness among us. We are all sons and daughters of truth, and we either look for this truth or we give ourselves up to illusion and accept illusion as reality. So for most of the world, to be called a believer means that you have to separate yourself from every other religion. Your religion is the truth, all the others are false. So to make yourself a believer, you have to proclaim, I am a follower of this faith. To say and to be real and say, I am a follower of the one true God. I am the follower of that one true power. I am the follower of that one light would get you to be ostracized amongst most religions. They can't accept you if you accept others. And Allah only accepts you if you can accept everyone else. Allah has accepted all of humanity. And who are we to say that he has limited himself to certain parts of humanity? Yet that is what the religions tell you. The religions tell you that there are separations. There are the ones who have found the way and the ones who haven't found the way. In truth, the ones who have found the way are the ones who understand formlessness. The ones who have found the way are the ones who understand the nature of truth and the nature of that which is eternal. And what is it that is eternal? God's qualities are what is eternal. And for us to truly become believers, we have to melt into those qualities. Why do we say La ilaha illallah? Only Allah exists. We do not exist. Because we are temporary manifestations. We're here for a certain period of time and then we disappear as far as this bodily form is concerned. So that means that this bodily form isn't real. It isn't eternal. It doesn't last. It has a set time period and then it disappears. So all of its history, all that it's done, everything about it disappears, except for what? Except for its interaction with that which is eternal. So if you've learned how to live a compassionate life, there is an eternal aspect to you. If you've learned to live a life of mercy, there is an eternal aspect to you. If you've learned to live a life of love, there is an eternal aspect to you. If justice rings within you in every situation, there is an eternal aspect to you. So what we need to do is to grow these eternal aspects in our being. And as we become more and more attached to that which is eternal, we become less and less attached to this worldly existence and to that which isn't real. And then our eyes open up and we see with our true eyes and we begin to understand reality. We begin to understand the unity of all mankind. We begin to understand the unity of all of the prophets. We begin to understand the unity that is that one which is our creator and how he has established us so that our purpose is to come to know him. And what is he? He is his 99 names. He is his 3,000 gracious qualities. He is a lack of differences. He is this true unity and love that maintains and sustains all of existence. He is a power that is a light that we have been given the ability to share with him. When he created us, he put a light inside of us that came from him. So in truth, if we come to know ourselves, we come to know him. And it's only when we come to know ourselves that we can come to know him. So do we take on this false persona that we have gotten from our interaction with the world? Do we call ourselves doctors and lawyers and engineers? Do we call ourselves laborers or philosophers? And do we take on these personas as who we truly are? Or do we understand that there is a limit to all of these things? And all of these things are illusory and they disappear just like we disappear. We need to begin to look at what is permanent in creation, what doesn't disappear. And the only thing that doesn't disappear is God's qualities. The only thing that stays real is God's qualities. The only thing that is eternal is God's qualities. So we have to hunger for understanding compassion. We have to hunger for understanding love. We have to hunger for understanding mercy. And when that happens, the mind and desire disappear, and true prayer occurs because only Allah can pray to Allah. And what does that mean? Only justice can pray to justice. Only mercy can pray to mercy. Only compassion can know compassion. So when we know these things, we can become at one with truth and at one with our Creator. And that's when we truly begin to know ourselves. This is the state that the Sufis talk about, that they call man, God, God, man. This is the state that Halaj talked about when he said, I am reality. He became reality when he disappeared. He became reality when he gave up his allegiance to his own being, and his allegiance was to God alone. And in having that allegiance to God alone, he became unified with all of existence. He became unified with every man in this world. He became unified with every being in this world, because all of the differences of sect and race and religion and language and color all disappeared from him. So all of these things have to disappear from us. We have to let go of all of these ideas that we hold on to that have been driven into us since we were little about the uniqueness of ourselves, the uniqueness of our faith, and the uniqueness about the way that our ancestors did things. We have to reach a level that transcends all of these things. We are explained that in Sufiyat, that is that which is beyond Shariat, Tariqat, Hakikat, and Marifat. Sufiyat is when everything disappears. And that moment when everything disappears is going to come. That moment when all of our connections to all of illusion, disappears is going to come. And all that's going to be left are the qualities that come from our Creator. And if we are not in touch with those qualities, then we have disappeared entirely, and our life has been of no value. Our life is valuable in relationship to our understanding of truth, to our understanding of mercy, to our understanding of love, to our understanding of justice. And as that grows within us, we become real. We become eternal. If we don't go in that direction, the other direction is to be subject to birth after birth after birth within illusion. So this is the choice that each of us has to make. We have to give up the ignorance of history. We have to give up the ignorance of form, and we have to enter into the light. And this path is available for us, but we must strongly believe that it's available for us. And we must strongly believe that Allah has intended it for us, and we have to coincide our intention with that intention, so that our intention is for truth. May Allah help each of us understand this. May He help us each grow in understanding His qualities, grow in understanding formlessness, grow in understanding truth. This is our only salvation. This is our salvation. Our salvation is through becoming His qualities. This is the path towards what the religions call heaven. This is the path towards truth. This is the path towards salvation. This is the path towards transcendence and enlightenment. Enlightenment is to become wise. Enlightenment is to act with God's qualities in every single thing that we do. May Allah bring this state into our being and make us the ones who walk in His path within His qualities. May it be so for each and every one of us. Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.